A couple days ago, Unity made one of the worst decisions since Eve took a bite of that apple in the garden, and they are absolutely killing their game engine. Developers are fleeing like they're trying to get on the Mayflower and come to the United States. They just can't get further away from this company, and they did it to themselves. They have no one to blame but themselves. They look in the mirror, and all the fingers are pointed at them. And I did talk about this already. I already went over the whole situation, but it was kind of surface level. I just kind of gave you a brief summary of what was going on and why it was terrible. But I kind of wanted to revisit it and go back into it and do a scientific dismantling of this situation and show you real specifically why Unity sucks and why everybody, all developers across the globe, are coming together to boycott it and just stop using the terrible, terrible game engine. So let's start by going over this graph that Unity released as to how their runtime fees are going to affect developers coming 2024. So their step one says to check your eligibility, and that means you have to meet revenue and install thresholds, and the thresholds are 200,000 for Unity Personal and Plus, 1 million for Unity Pro, and 1 million also for Enterprise. So straight off the bat, it's just very shitty that they have different thresholds for different packages. The more money you give Unity for a subscription plan, the more your threshold's going to be. They're really just taking a play out of Mr. Krabs' handbook. Eugene Krabs would be proud. But then step two, it says to calculate the fee using your threshold and whatnot. So if you have the Personal and Plus, which is going to be a majority of people, it's 20 cents per new install after the 200,000 downloads and revenue threshold. So 1 to 100,000 installs is going to cost the same as 1 million extra installs after that threshold at 20 cents. And just to show you how absurd these fees are going to be, I pulled up the handy dandy calculator, and you can just say that you get 500,000 extra downloads over your threshold, so that's about a total of 700,000 downloads. You multiply that by 0.2, and that's $100,000 that you're going to have to fork over from your hard-earned developing time into making your own game, because Unity says that they want more money. But of course, these rules aren't enforced equally. Unity is going to be playing favorites for people that throw more money at them, like I said previously. So Unity Pro has to pay 15 cents per new install for the first 1 to 100,000 over the threshold of 1 million, and then it progressively trickles down and gets lower towards 1 million downloads. And the same goes for Unity Enterprise. Their fees are even lower. So now that we've crossed off the checklist that Unity is just being a bunch of money-hungry little goblins, they don't want anybody touching their loot, it's their coins, not yours. They're just trying to collect more gold coins than Mario. The greed is absolutely insane. But on top of them being greedy, they also are just being not transparent. They're saying they're being transparent, trying to say how the installs are going to count, who's going to be impacted, but they have already been caught contradicting themselves. Caught in a web of lies, if you will. Because I already covered this tweet in my previous video, but I wanted to go over it again in a bit more in depth. They put this out acknowledging the confusion and frustration they heard when they announced their new runtime fee policy. So this was their answer to clarify it up for everybody, of everyone's top concerns. So they said, who's going to be impacted by the price increase? The price increase is very targeted, and in fact, more than 90% of our customers will not be affected by this change. They say here how they're going to define and count installs, and they say first, reinstall charges. We are not going to charge a fee for reinstalls. But then if you went over to their Unity forum on that same question, they contradict themselves by saying that yes, they are going to count. So was it just a miscommunication? Are people not communicating inside the company? Or is this just such an unplanned change that you have no idea what's going on and you yourselves don't even know how this is going to be implemented? How does it it's not that, it shouldn't be that hard to communicate what you're going to say regarding an update. It really shouldn't be that hard. If you plan it out, you write it on a whiteboard, nothing can go wrong. If everyone understands what's going on, then there shouldn't be this issue. And it seems Like, no one understands what's going on, not even Unity themselves. And then they say fraudulent install charges. We are not going to charge a fee for fraudulent installs. We will work directly with you on cases where fraud or botnets are suspected of malicious intent. Trials, partial play demos, and automation installs, DevOps charges. We are not going to count these towards your install count. Early access games are not considered demos. Web and streaming games. We are not going to count web and streaming games towards your install count either. And then charity related installs. The pricing change and install count will not be applied to your charity bundles / initiatives like Humble Bundle and all that kind of stuff. So this whole situation, as you can tell, it's like that episode of SpongeBob when SpongeBob's head's on fire and all the little SpongeBobs are running around trying to get the thing under control, being like, don't panic, and they're trying to put out the fires. That's what Unity is doing right now. They're burning to the ground and they're trying to save face, but their clown makeup is just melting off. It's insane. It doesn't make sense in any way, any perspective that you look at it from. It's just a dumb idea. You're taking money from developers that you don't need to take, that you're just being greedy with. You're not being transparent, which is scary for developers because how are they supposed to trust you and want to play and make games on your engine if they can't even trust the words that you're saying? And then with all that in mind, why wouldn't they just switch over to other engines and other new game developers not even think about using Unity and go to these other various different game engines, because Unity is not the only game engine that's out there, nor the best. So why won't you go where the grass is greener instead of going where the grass is just poopy brown and dead? So naturally after that, there has now been 19 companies in protest that have disabled Unity's ad monetization in their games. So that basically just means that they've turned the monetization settings off so that they're not making money, but in turn, Unity also isn't making money. And as we've seen from these recent updates, Unity loves money, so this is a punch below the belt for them. It's going to hurt them substantially. And these 19 companies that are said to be mostly based in Europe and developing mobile games put out an open letter pretty much saying the same sentiment that all developers and just anyone looking at this situation has been saying. They said, first of all, they said to claim, as Unity has, that this new runtime fee will impact only 10% of the industry is not just misleading, it's patently false. And that also this runtime fee they plan to institute is going to jeopardize small and large game developers alike. And they say that how with one stroke of the pen, they have put hundreds of studios at risk without any consultation or dialogue. They just kind of flopped it on the table and are expecting people to roll with the punches. And then they put out this little comparison saying that if automakers suddenly decided to charge us for every mile driven on the car that you bought a year ago, the impact on consumers and the industry at large would be seismic. And that's very true. A different comparison that I kind of thought about after I uploaded that other video is that think about if you made YouTube videos and you uploaded that video and then it blew up, got like 1 million views or whatever, and then YouTube decides to institute a fee that they're going to charge you like 10 cents for every single view that video got over 100,000 views, you'd be screwed. You would be up the creek without a paddle. And it doesn't matter what you substitute into this formula, regardless of what it is, if a company starts charging you extra fees, it's never good for the consumer or the company. It just ruins everything. And then they say, as a course of immediate action, our collective of game development companies is forced to turn off all Iron Source and Unity ads monetization across our projects until these changes are reconsidered. We urge others who share this stance to do the same. The rules have changed and the stakes are simply too high. The runtime fee is an unacceptable shift in our partnership with Unity that needs to be immediately canceled. I forgot to add this in, but I'm going to throw it in real quick. On top of those 19 companies there, obviously everyone is against this. The whole community at large has pitchforks at Unity's neck, wanting them to make a change, or they're going to jump ship to another better ship. But besides them, there are some other developers here. I found a list someone made on the Unity 3D subreddit where they've added fire to the logo now, which is kind of funny. They posted a whole collection of responses to Unity's change from prominent developers and industry professionals. I obviously showed the last one in the last video from Among Us, Innersloth. AgroCrab also showed that one. Developer Digital, which is a publisher. Gary Newman from Rust. Matt Wood worked on Half-Life, Portal 2, CSGO. Megacrit. Freya Holmer, Landfall, Rami Ismail, Brian Wilson, George Bossard, David Smansky, No Break Games, Running with Scissors. And that's just a list of some names that have came out and spoke out against this god-awful change. There are many, many more, obviously, from just non-game developers like YouTubers, commentary channels, and then just basically everyone. Anyone that knows anything about games or has even heard of this situation is against it. The only ones that are supporting it and trying to actually make it seem like a good thing is Unity themselves. And we've seen from their track record, they don't even know what's going on inside their own company, so why should we trust them with this change? If they don't even know what the change is, why should they expect people to go along with it? It just leaves a really bad taste in your mouth, like you just ate a circus peanut. I hate those things. I cannot stand those orange little gummies. Anyways, that is not the point of this video. That's all I wanted to say, and I'll catch you in the next one. Down with Unity.